Had she been convicted of the crimes, her sentence would have been death by hanging.
Yeah, did you see that?
See it? What did I tell you?
Do it again.
You walk in the door and you're like, oh my God, what happened here?
Can you contact us?
Can you move something?
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. Once she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Please do come in. Someone has killed father. Well, it was in this room on the morning of August 4th, 1892, Lizzie and Mrs. Borden had their last meal together. A visitor to the house that morning was John Morse. He was the uncle of Lizzie and Emma, the brother of Sarah Borden, Mr. Borden's first wife.
I firmly believe that John Morse, her uncle, was more involved than the police were able to determine. Not that he performed the act, but he was involved to some degree.
Lizzie's sister Emma was not here. She was away in Fairhaven and had been there for the last 2 weeks visiting the Brownell family. Lizzie did not join her family for breakfast. She was a late sleeper and she did anything to avoid Mrs. Borden. The only other person in the house at that time was Bridget, their maid.
Now, there was a strange buggy seen coming up the street that morning, made a U-turn in front of this house. It was seen by the livery stable man across the street. And when he saw it, it was bearing 2 men. Now, his attention was diverted when he looked back. The buggy was leaving carrying only 1 man. So, for lack of a better word, I believe that second man was the murderer.
John Morse left just past 8:30 that morning. Mr. Borden left not long after John.
Well, I believe that John Morse came back in the house too. I believe he did not immediately go to the post office the way he told the police. He went around the corner and waited for Andrew to leave. So he came back into the house with that man.
Mrs. Borden told Bridget to wash the windows on the first floor inside and out, so Bridget went outside, and Lizzie came downstairs. Said she found her mother in the dining room dusting. She went downstairs to get some laundry, and when she came up, she did not see her again until after her body had been found.
Now, Abby turns around, she sees John. Well, she doesn't have to be excited, she knows him. There's someone with him. Again, she doesn't have to be excited. He's gonna be all right, he's with John. Now Lizzie and Uncle John step aside and the murderer takes over.
This is where the body of Abby Borden was discovered. She took about 19 blows to the head. The first one to the forehead. She saw it coming.
In the meantime, the murderer remains on the second floor. Lizzie is the lookout. Now, when her father comes home, she goes out to the yard and ventures to the barn. The murderer comes down, finishes his dastardly deed, and leaves.
She said she met her father here in the sitting room. She asked, was there any mail? He said no. He asked, where is Abby? And Lizzie said, Mrs. Borden received a note that morning from a sick friend and is gone to visit in the city. No friend and no note was ever found. She said I helped him remove his shoes and his coat. He's still wearing his shoes. His coat is rolled up underneath his head.
Who actually committed the crimes? It's all speculation. Everyone has been accused, from Lizzie to Emma to Dr. Bowen to an unknown assailant. No one will ever know.
We didn't go in there to solve a case. We went in there to collect phenomena. That's our job. Our job's not to solve a case. Our job is to go in and collect phenomena. We always talk about these building blocks for a case. You know, we've had so many reports about this house being haunted in the past and experiences people are having in certain rooms. We went in and we were able to, I think, in a way, validate that the phenomena is happening.
Lizzie Borden is one of the obvious areas in New England that has spectral activity. It's sort of a natural. You got to do Lizzie if you're in New England. That's my feeling. So Al, what are you doing here?
Can't tell, it's dark. I'm setting these sensors up, these temperature sensors, around this area, which is where they had reported feeling cold spots. So I figure if I put 3 of them here, right in this area, we'll see if any of them register any significant temperature drops. Bring this one downstairs, with the other set. And then we'll monitor this, or try to monitor this every half hour to see if there's any temperature drop. A significant temperature drop, not just 1 or 2 degrees.
People who sleep in the Morse room, the biggest thing I hear about that is that the room is freezing all the time.
90% of the time that you walk into that room, it seems 5 to 10 degrees colder than any other room in the house. Guests who sleep in that room say they feel like somebody's standing over their bed at certain points during the night.
What we need to do is we need to be as quiet as possible, first of all. I'll start it off. I'll ask a question, and then wait maybe 15, 20 seconds, and then have a space in between the questions, which gives them time to respond. And then have a space in between the questions. Could be said, because I'm just saying the same word, wait 15 or 20 seconds, and then wait, you know? And then have a space in between the questions. It's a weird voice, though, isn't it? It's like, it's not very clear. It sounds human, but it's not very clear. And it sounds EVP-ish, you know, because it's dragged out. It could be a mimic again. Just saying the word that I just said, wait.
There is no privacy up there. For anyone who lived there, Emma and Lizzie had to walk through each other's rooms to get down the front staircase.
But again, rooms coming off of rooms, you know, having to go into certain rooms to get into other rooms, it is kind of strange. Yeah, it is quite strange.
The door between the parents' bedroom and Lizzie's room was locked, so they used the back staircase, but there are such close quarters that you didn't have any privacy.
But one of the things you always have when you're dealing with a structure, a historical structure, when you're dealing with anything that's had a legend attached to it, you really have to go into these things and you have to separate what your personal thoughts are, your personal opinions are, and you have to come in like a fresh slate and just start from scratch and see what comes through and what comes out of the investigation. You can't have these preconceived notions that a lot of investigators have. Between the floors here, you've got probably some wiring going through between the floors, and it seems to be going here through this side of Lizzie's room and that side of the Borden's room. And you go to the other side and there's nothing. You know, the fields are ready to on the floor. The fields are about non-existent. So, you know, so there's stuff coming up in all these rooms. It's March the 4th, and it's 10:45 p.m. at the Lizzie Borden house. The first question that I'd like to ask is a basic question. Are there any unseen friends, any spirits in this particular house? I think that Lizzie was certainly more involved than was proven. I think she was much more involved with it, whether she had someone help her, which probably is what happened. Is there anyone here, still here, who is connected to the famous murder that took place in the late 1800s, where 2 people in the household were viciously attacked and murdered? There's a possibility that she found out some things that, you know, people talk about the father writing a will and leaving everything to the stepmother, which means that Lizzie probably wouldn't have gotten anything. So she may have taken the opportunity to do away with her because of that. We're particularly interested in the maid who was here at the time. If she is still here, if you could please leave a message for us on this tape recorder. When you come into the house and you say, there's nothing going on here, you know, prove to me that there is. That's what you have to do. And in all cases, not only this house, but any hauntings, you know, you go in, you say, basically, there's nothing happening here. Somebody was held down on this bed. It's probably sleep paralysis. Or had an experience in this room, probably a blood pressure problem, you know, blood pressure dropped or something once you walked into the room. Now, then you go back and you start interviewing people and you find out 8 people had similar experiences coming into this room. And that's probably not a blood pressure problem. That is probably something associated with the room itself. And you start looking, could it be the floor? Could it be, you know, why? So you take every testimony separately and try to analyze it. But the main thing is you come into the place saying, there's nothing happening here.